Good evening. My name is Daniel Savion. I am the downtown manager for the city of Glendale. Thank you for coming out to the Downtown Campus Reinvestment Project community meeting. We're actually going to be doing an interactive meeting. We're going to be doing this interactive meeting through Slido, and You got it. So, we'll be using Slido to join the conversation. So in order to do that, if you can, take out your phone. And with your phone, you can go to slido.com and put in the meeting code. Once you put in the meeting code, you'll be entered into the meeting, or you can scan the QR code with your camera. But I'm sure there have been people walking around already with the QR code. If it's too far away, there is a card that you can scan. Just find somebody with the lanyard hanging on their neck, and they'll be able to assist you. Good question. So this is an interactive meeting that I will be explaining a little bit more. So again, you can go to the QR code or enter the meeting code for this interactive meeting. And if you don't have either, you can do another thing. You can also buddy up, and they can tell you the answer, and they can input it. Or there is a card that you can grab that people are handing out as well, where you can write down your answers or write down your questions, and we'll gather it at the end of the meeting. So we're going to give a little bit of time for everybody to get logged in to slido.com, scan the QR code, or input the meeting code. I think we're ready. So we're going to share our thoughts and your opinion with live polls. The live polls, if you're on your phone, you'll notice that if it's on screen, it's actually going to show up on your phone. If it's not on the screen, it won't show up on your phone. But you'll still be able to ask your questions that will at the end of the meeting. If you look at the top Q&A, that's where you'll be able to input your questions throughout the meeting. So as the presentation goes on, if you have a question, input it there, gather it at the end. Slido. So let's try it out. And this is not just for people here, this is for people at home as well too. They can also participate in Slido by inputting the code or the QR code that's on screen. So let's get it going. First question. Halloween's coming up. This is going to be the hardest question of the night, actually. What is your favorite Halloween candy? Feel free to input it. There is only one right answer. Hint, it is not candy corn, please.
You want me to type in the question for my answer?
Type in the answer. So the question is up. Yes. Anything you like. So, Soretta Candy Company, their favorite. Wow. Anything chocolate. Apples. Oh my goodness. Starburst, okay. Okay. Fruit, okay. That type of neighborhood, okay. What is that? Tequila? I've never heard of that. Never heard of that type of Halloween candy. Well, as you can see, this is how it's going to be working with the polls. When a question goes up and you put in an answer, it'll go up there, and probably what's been said the most will be bigger and bigger. But these are all great answers. A few of them that okay, anything sweets, apples, and Starburst. Oh, Sour Punch. But now that you got the hang of it, let's move on to the next one. So, your zip code. Tell us where you're joining from. If you're at home or if you're in here, this is all private. This is just to let us know where in Glendale you are from. Where are you joining us from? What is your zip code? Is it the 85301, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or all the way to 55, way out there? Again, this is all just private information. This is just for us. This will not go up there. Okay, so as you can see, that's the reason of getting on Slido, so we can know what your answers are right away. And we can have all your questions at once that we can gather at the end of the meeting. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you the Ocotillo District Representative, Vice Mayor Jamie Aldama.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Is it going? I can't hear it from behind me. Okay. I want to thank Daniel. Thank you so much. You all know who Daniel is. He's the downtown manager responsible for bringing all of us together and continue working with each other. I'm so excited. Daniel comes with a wealth of experience and knowledge. He's worked for a university. He knows how to unite people. And I am so excited that he's with the city of Glendale, working with all of you business owners and even homeowners around downtown Glendale. So Daniel, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you more than anything. Those of you in the room, our business owners and our constituents, our citizens, thank you. This is just a great, great opportunity. It's an opportunity to me that we are investing so much into the community that I grew up in. It's my childhood. My family's been here for over 100 years. We grew up right across the railroad tracks here. So we've invested a lot of time into this community. So have you. It's time after 40 years to do something with our park, to do something with our building, and to just do something with this facility. So today's meeting is intended as a listening session. Yes, you can ask your questions. Yes, there's technology. I've been told by Jesse Peterson that there is also a way that you can ask your questions and submit them in writing. So Jesse has some cards back there. You can grab that. If you don't have the technology today to do that, you can write them in. We're not going to leave you out because you don't have a device to do that. So Jesse, you have those back there? So if anybody that wants them, okay? Today's a listening activity. Our architects are going to listen to you. They want to know who you are, what you expect, and what you're expecting from this project and what you're expecting from them in the design. This is the first meeting. There hasn't been any other meetings other than the meeting to clarify some questions a couple months ago. This is the first of many. And I'm glad you're here, and hopefully when you go back, we can get more people on board to come to some other meetings. But let them know what you want them to hear. What do you expect from the park? It's a very historic park. We need some amenities. We need some changes. How significant of changes are you expecting from Murphy Park, from this design? But I'll tell you, Diane Jacobs is homegrown. She knows exactly how to work with historic communities and how to work with people. They are a smaller architectural firm than you may have thought we were going to get. They went through a process and they were awarded, but they are passionate about what they do. They have a great team and they want to listen to you. I'm excited, folks. I hope you guys are too. I know that we got off on a bad start. There wasn't some clarity out there. We have clarity now, and it starts today. I certainly hope you'll stay engaged and don't let this be the last meeting. Don't let this be the last opportunity that you submit questions. You can always email them to me. You can email them to Jesse and to Daniel. They're outside of this forum. That doesn't mean that they're not going to be submitted. Send them in. But today is your day to let Diane and her folks know what this reinvestment means to you. And again, I know that a lot of us in the room here are really concerned with Murphy Park. And today's the day to let them know what you want and what you don't want. Will all of us walk out of here with everything we want? No, probably not. But we all have to feel good about our input. I can't tell you other than what that conceptual design looked like. I don't know what you guys are going to put together. You guys are helping Diane and her team put this together, and I got to tell you, Diane is, listen, I spent a couple hours with her upstairs, and we talked. We didn't even talk about a design. We talked more about the community, my constituents, business owners, and just the historics of Glendale. So I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm not going to stay here tonight as to not influence anybody. You guys go at it and have a great conversation. Use the technology provided today. use some of the old school pen and paper or pencil and paper to get your questions in. And you can always contact me for anything you want to converse about and anything on the project as well. Without further ado, I want to announce the principal architect, Diane Jacobs with Holly Street Studio Architects. I'm really excited. Diane, they're all yours. Please take care of them. They're my constituents, our constituents from the city of Glendale. Many of them are business owners from downtown Glendale. They're passionate about our community, and I'm going to turn them over to you. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Aldama. What an honor it is to be here with my team. As Vice Mayor stated, my name is Diane Jacobs. I'm an architect. I started my company a little over 20 years ago. And this is cutting in and out. We need to make sure it doesn't. In downtown Phoenix, I think I need a replacement. We worked hard on this presentation. I want to make sure everybody hears it. Let me tell you what we're here to do tonight. 3 things. Mostly, we want to get to know each other. We're going to introduce who our team is, architects, landscape architects, designers, and builders, because we're going to be around for a while, making sure that we connect with you and we build a project, we create a project that's worthy of the citizens of Glendale and unique to Glendale itself. The second thing that we're going to do is describe the project. There's been a lot of conversation about what's included, what's not included, how big is the bread box, what are you going to do here, how many of this, how many of that. Essentially, we're starting with a clean slate. And I'm going to share with you what that clean slate is. The designs that have been shown in the past were in fact real ideas for this real community, but they were established to set up scope, to understand what to budget for the project, and to just begin the process, which led to the ultimate selection of a team. And then the third thing that I'd like to do tonight is learn from each other. We're going to share some images, some inspiration, things that towns are doing all over the country and a little bit all over the world, just to share ideas. But then I want to hear from you. Most of our projects involve understanding the culture and the context where we're practicing, and Glendale is no different. So I'd like to move on to the next slide. So just to be very, very clear about the why, because I don't think in these meetings we talk about the why very much. You're always getting presented to, but I want to share why we're doing these public meetings. So our team, many of whom are present here, can the architects and designers and builders in the room raise their hand? Come on, they're behind you. So we're here as a group of designers and builders who are planning to work with you and the city of Glendale to envision the future, not reimagine it, not redo, not start from scratch, but to envision the future, because things change no matter what in terms of growth and even maintenance and the way services are provided, and it's time for this reinvestment according to your city leadership. Why are you here? Well, as we understand it, you're residents, stakeholders, taxpayers who are here to join in the conversation, to share your stories and to share your ideas, because we can't come up with a design in a vacuum. So this is the first of a handful of meetings where we're going to connect with you, understand what the true needs are. When we come back, we'll be showing you things to look at and provide us with feedback. And that's just the way we practice our craft. So I spoke about our project team. Let me go a little bit further in telling you who we are. The main companies that were hired as a conglomerate, kind of, so to speak, or a team, are Holly Street Studio, my company, and we are architects based in downtown Phoenix. Lightvox Studio, architects, also based in Phoenix. Colwell Sheeler, landscape architects. There's Allison from Colwell Sheeler. And Oakland Builders, Oakland Construction Company. There's Jesse, and there's Todd. keeps switching out on me, showing me a picture of myself, which I don't really need to be looking at. I think, let me back up a second. So in March, in late March, we received an advertisement, as many architecture firms in the public realm do, that talked about this project. And I looked at the advertisement. It's a very lengthy legal document. The RFP came out sometime in late March, and it's very detailed, and it tells you everything that this project was to consist of that was already set. And we talked about it at Holly Street Studio, and we said this project is amazing. It's not one project. It's 5 projects or 6 projects. It depends on how you look at this. I don't know if we should pursue it. It takes a lot of effort to put together a proposal, especially for cities, which we tend to work in. But if we do this, we cannot do it without a stellar team. So we reached out to our colleagues and friends at Lightvox Studio, at Colbo Sheeler, and later on Oakland was hired, but we did connect with them, and we said, how could we put together a team of talented local professionals to make this project happen? And who the heck knows if we'll get it? And that's the way these things work. So I share this with you to understand how the process went down. We learned about a month later that we were shortlisted, which for any firm is a really wonderful thing, but it means, oh my goodness, a ton of work because we made the next round. We were up against established firms, large firms, some firms which had done studies before. Some of these firms were our friends. We're connected with the architectural community. But we poured our heart into this, and we came up with an idea. Very loose. Everybody understands that that's just the selection process stage. And this idea that we put on the table was essentially, we would like to help Glendale reinvest in all of the downtown community in the core project as one full entire project. So we shared these ideas, we put these things on the table, and we came together, and about a week later of nail biting, we found out that we were successful and we were selected to do the project. So one of the things that I think perhaps brought us into this space is our interest and willingness to understand where it is that we're working, with whom we're working, and be resourceful and open-minded as to what the design might be. So this is not so much a story of our design team, but it's a story, or at least a sentiment on our part, to show who you're working with and perhaps why we're in the room. Let's see if we can make that happen. So most of our projects with Holly Street Studio are public in nature, and we believe that engaging in the process and designing with you instead of for you is critical. This is an image of a discussion we had in the public realm, and usually that's what public meetings are like. They're not so formal like this. Hopefully other ones will be more kind of workshop style. But this discussion led to the next slide. We just completed a project for the City of Mesa and ASU, and had we not had that meeting with the public, we may not have had that open ground floor and the large movie screen on the side of the building, which wanted to be a very closed, inward-focused film school project. We also created a big lawn for gathering and events out in front and integrated outside with the inside. There were so many things about this project that wouldn't happen the way they did had we not connected with the community. Next slide. Smaller workshops, we worked with people to understand, we shared images, and we talked about different community needs through these dialogues, and came together to build a community building with minimal resources but maximum usability. Sometimes we engage with students. We do work with ASU, and I think some of the best information we get as architects, builders, and designers is through these workshops. And this was to renovate a historic building that was formerly the post office downtown. And through these conversations, we were able to work with the historic preservation group to open up the building instead of create a sort of a precious homage to the past and link it to the downtown civic space in Phoenix. Other things we have collected expertise on that we hope to bring to this project is experience with workspaces. The city hall spaces are outdated. They're not that easy to meet up with city personnel. They're not that easy to work in, and they're frankly very much in need of refurbishment. So we have experience with workspaces. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. Outdoor spaces. One of the things that's important is that the outdoors and the indoor spaces are integrated. And so I have with me Allison Colwell, who's going to talk a little bit about what that means.
Hello, everybody. I'm Allison Colwell with Colwell Sheeler Landscape Architecture. And I'm so honored to be here tonight. This is such an incredible project. And so thank you for having me. And I just want to tell you just a little bit about my firm. We are also a small firm. We are in Phoenix, but we also work regionally from Texas to California. And we are nationally award-winning firm. And we specialize in creating vibrant environments for people, but climate-appropriate projects. That's really important. And I guess what I just want to say, what I love about being a landscape architect here in Phoenix is I love that we get to create spaces for people to enjoy the outdoors. We get to mitigate climate and make places more comfortable for people to be in, and still they can be green and lush and beautiful. So, thank you.
The next bit of experience that we have is construction in the Phoenix and in the Arizona market. And I've brought with me today our partners with Oakland Construction, who are going to say a little bit about the work that they do. This is Jesse Lee.
Thank you. We're glad to be here. Where you've probably had an interface with Oakland is probably our trucks driving down the highway. They're very recognizable. They're yellow trucks with the yellow hoods, and so I hope and pray that our drivers have been courteous and thoughtful as they share the roadways with you. But a little bit about Oakland Construction. We just celebrated our 100-year anniversary back in 2018. And we're a family-owned business, family-owned company. We just switched into the 4th generation. And our president and CEO lives here in the Valley and absolutely loves Arizona. Oakland has a passion for creating community and being good stewards of our communities as we live here. It obviously takes a village to bring a project of this magnitude to light. And so our role this early in the project is to listen and to be good partners. We've spent many meetings with the design team, and in hearing in the feedback that is given, what we want to do is take that vision and carry it through into construction and make sure that the translation of the history and the vision of where this community is going is realized when we deliver our project. With construction, it can be, disruptive, and so we want to be good stewards and neighbors and not interrupt the flow of your lives and your business. And so that's our goal, that we can deliver this and maintain that sense of community here.
Thanks, Jesse. So now we want to tell you a little bit about what we understand Glendale, Arizona. This is our place of work now for the next few years. This project is the focal point for many of our lives. One thing I want to say, and the reason why we took some time to introduce ourselves the way we did, is that we believe that it's a real honor. We don't take this task lightly, and we're really happy to be here, and it's very, very important to connect because this is your home. Okay. So when you look at this map, it's a way of realizing that Glendale is a big city. It's 65 square miles wide, or big. And downtown is just a small piece of it. But downtown Glendale, like any downtown, is really the heart of your community. So we believe that we're not just serving the people that come through City Hall or Murphy Park or come for a food truck event, but actually the entire city of Glendale, which is a very, very important, if not the most important kind of urban environment or community within the West Valley. So it's a larger reach, but a smaller footprint. So we've done a little bit of digging, but I'm sure the people in this room know a lot more about this community than we have. One thing that we notice in looking at many, many interesting historic photographs is that Murphy Park has always been the center of this community. And as it's grown and as it's developed, you can see there's not only homes around it, but businesses and municipal buildings, and it really is kind of the classic city green. And we've watched that city green kind of evolve over the years, even as other progress has taken place, like things in Westgate and things around the city, and watched Grand Avenue sort of go through several iterations. It continued to be kind of this oasis, this desert oasis in the middle of Glendale. One thing we also recognized in a lot of the stories of the city of Glendale is that arts and culture is very, very important to your community. We learned the story of E. Lowell Rogers and the community band. We also learned about Velmatique and the flagpole. And all of these things have left energy and brought about traditions in your community, which, just like all of our other projects, we think are the starting points of moving forward on this one. The ability to grow beautiful landscapes in our desert community is also appreciated and not taken lightly. And we know that this is why we can all live here, and this is why we are present. And so we've seen all kinds of iterations of this landscape over the years. But then, right about when I started college, 1986, someone talked about progress with a capital P. And a very distinguished architecture firm came on board and created a new city hall. Why? Because the city was growing. You had employees, you had to have people in offices to take care of the people of the community. It's interesting, in those days, planning wasn't done this way. You had architects, mostly men, wonderful men, I'm sure, in a room up on some high-rise floor. I'm making this up, but I'm imagining what it might have been, because I remember who was in my profession when I started college, and doing beautiful designs, but often sort of in a closed loop with a very clear purpose, that this building was to be sort of civic and proud and big and sort of commanding of your downtown. And that's what they did. And it has its presence, and there was the flag. And if you look at the amphitheater space, beautifully landscaped turf that could maybe one day serve as an amphitheater, or maybe not, but it was just this open space connecting to the basement. So let's back up and look at it from a bird's eye view. And if we see this image from 1930, which is pretty cool that they were taking aerials in 1930, you can see the original library. It was a small building. It was donated just like Murphy Park, reiterating the history of generosity in a community that we learned about for your town. And you could see that all four sides were open to the street. And then in the next slide, it grew, the library grew. And then the library was replaced and grew even bigger. And you could see that the fabric and the energy around downtown changed. But then you go to the next slide, and there was that proud building right there in the middle, kind of, in some ways, sort of scooching over Murphy Park just a little bit, but nonetheless it was there, and all of a sudden the sort of the vibe and the energy and the character of downtown began to change. And then in 2006, I think, in order to preserve safety and security and separate cars from pedestrians, Grand Avenue was brought underneath, which was probably a good move. But again, progress and change. And all of these moves happened individually. The building was individual. You could argue that the amphitheater was maybe individual, closing the streets, and they all seem to be really good ideas, kind of in pieces, as downtown developed. And now here we are today, and you could see the result of these pieces. They're together, but they're not really cohesive. Some are okay and things to be proud of, but as a whole, they don't really work that well together. It doesn't really form that heart that it once had back in the early photos. So, what is this project about? This project is about taking care of these assets and bringing them into the next 40 years to make sure that the folks that work here can serve the community and that the community can come to this area and enjoy their time together. In the background, since we were awarded the project in late April, we've been spending a lot of time mostly analyzing and getting information. I know that there's some confusion about the way the project has unfolded, but essentially this has been an information gathering time, and we have not come up with any particular design concepts. We are spending a lot of time understanding what is not necessarily seen by the naked eye to make sure that we get this project right in the long run. This is kind of a nerd fest, that picture of engineers and architects. So what's the purpose of the project? Is to maintain the things that work here, to clarify, open, and modernize. Also to address challenges, to create user-friendly spaces, to address things that don't really work. This lobby doesn't necessarily say, welcome to the city of Glendale, this is your city hall. And also the stewardship of natural resources. We talked about Murphy Park. Murphy Park's been discussed quite a lot. We recognize that this is valuable not only to the citizens of Glendale, but it's providing oxygen, fresh air, shade, a sense of center, a sense of community, and the stewardship of these things anywhere, not just in Glendale, is very important. And to reinvest in community resources. The fact that, we could wander over here from downtown Phoenix on October 8th to celebrate Tyler's birthday and listen to Clearance Clearwater Revival cover band and see the vibrant community come together that night was wonderful. But at the same time, this is not an accessible amphitheater. The equipment doesn't work very well. The lighting is off. How can we take your resource and just make sure it works better so that more people can enjoy it and could last longer? So the process. How are we going to do all these things? Well, like anything, one step at a time. So essentially, the way we do our projects are divided up into different chunks. The first chunk was the public RFP process. I'm still giddy from the fact that we're here today, and I'm really glad that process is over. The second part is where we are now. We're in phase one. This is the information gathering phase. This is where we set the vision. This is where we work with our colleagues at Oakland Construction and Colwell-Sheeler Landscape Architects and start to define what the breadbox can be, making sure that we stay on time. And also the main thing with all public projects is stay within budget. It's not our money to spend. It's not the staff's money to spend. It's your money. It's been allocated to do this project for you. The second phase, which we'll get back together with you on, is design. That's when you take ideas, you turn them into boxes, and you start to move things around and see how they're all going to fit. And then finally, construction. When construction occurs, we have to make sure that downtown is still alive and vibrant. We have to make sure that it's safe, and we have to make sure that it's quick. These are all very complicated things, but remember I said we were nerds. We like to figure this stuff out. We're going to work on it, but we pledge to be open and transparent about what's happening. And that's how all these projects have to work. And then finally, the expected opening in spring 2025. So we are here, the vision and information gathering phase. The reason why we bothered you about cell phones in the beginning is we're using a technology that might help us get some really good answers, and you all see your own answers and what you're thinking as a group on the screen. You don't have to use technology. I'm someone who enjoys analog communication, but there's different variety of people and ideas, and that's just one way. So in the next few slides, we're going to show you some pictures, talk about what we're seeing elsewhere, and then we want to hear from you. So, what do you love about civic space, your civic space? I'll read these. A sense of belonging, the treasured history. History comes up a lot. Live music. Community. Trees. Anything else? Anybody want to just shout one that's not into typing on their phone?
Yes, it is considered the heart. Of, 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 of,
the heart of. Somebody should type a heart for me. I love that. I never put a heart on an aerial until today, but it seemed like the right thing for this project. Ah, thank you. So we have unique, small local business, family friendly, experience while meandering, green space, history, Glendale glitters, worldwide known festivals. Great, and you can keep typing on this as we move on to the next one. Ah, more heart. Now, what would you do to make it better? We know that there are challenges, we have to prioritize, but what would you do really if you had the opportunity, which you do now, and I congratulate everybody that's here tonight because you do have the opportunity to give us what we need on our drawing pad to begin to look at. More green, power for vendors, more trees, big events, family-oriented, green space, move library, expand the library, now not allow people to use drugs in it, restrooms, visibility, Wi-Fi, remember its history, add restaurants, more trees again, rebrand town. A place to be proud of, lights. Again, this is not finite. You can continue to give input. And at the end of this meeting, we'll be here, our staff will be here to have conversations one-on-one as well. Okay. What makes your civic space uniquely Glendale? How are you not Scottsdale? How are you not Boulder? How are you not Pasadena? What makes you Glendale, Arizona? It's old. Those places are old too. Yes. Unique design with the buildings. We like to sometimes refer to that as the urban fabric, the kind of the small scale businesses. History. Fun fact, Holly Street was named after a house that we live in to this day. We don't office there. That's over 100 years old in the Willow District. So we are history buffs, and Allison also lives in Willow. And we just bought an old building as a small business owners on the fringes of downtown Phoenix. So wish us luck with that. Better lights for the amphitheater. Make it a real historic downtown. Wide sidewalks, not a desert, not steel and glass. There was something about vibes. Main Street vibes, diversity. Great, and this is the start, but we will fold this in. Okay. Oh, I saw Murphy's vision. That's important. Okay, so before we go on to the questions about City Halls itself, one of the things I wanted to share was what we're seeing around the country happening with City Hall buildings. What you have here in Glendale, structurally speaking, is a building with really good bones. It has height, it has presence. There's a lot of embedded carbon. There was a lot of investment made in this building. It's located very, very well for access. It's right in the heart of your downtown. We like fixing old things. Glendale hasn't given up on its downtown, so it's a really good starting point. But your City Hall is very much like an office building. And what we're learning is that it could be a little bit more. So this is an example, not far from here, Chandler City Hall. City offices are opening up to views, to light, to air. They're more welcoming. They're places where you can recruit talented staff, which is something that every city needs, especially including Glendale, Arizona. It's a place where the office footprint can be flexible, can create a sense of well-being, of openness, of light, transparency, figuratively and literally. The City Hall is also a place of business. This is in Chandler. It's not, this particular space is not unlike the space that we're in today, but know that city halls are not just an office building, that this is a complex. This is the people's house, and this is where we come to gather. Some city halls we're seeing around the country are providing spaces for community services. Goodyear, for example, put the library in their city hall. You come to City Hall, maybe you're paying your water bill, maybe you want to look at some plans, maybe you want to stop, have a cup of coffee, maybe you want to connect with a neighbor, maybe you want to read the paper. City halls all over the country, and not far from here in Goodyear, are doing just that. Just an example. City halls can be accessible for public gathering. In Minneapolis, we're learning that this open space is not necessarily a use like a library or community center, but city halls can be open to the street and connected and accessible. City halls can be a place for entrepreneurial development. We know that the part of Glendale is very new and modern and attracting business. Why not come downtown to talk about, learn about what's going on? This is happening anyway. People are meeting, people are growing, the economy goes up, the economy goes down. Why not potentially provide the forum for these kinds of sort of social and entrepreneurial collisions, if you will, in City Hall? That's what they're doing in Minneapolis. Maybe that appeals to this group. It's also a place for multi-purpose space where there's technology. Maybe you don't have video conferencing capabilities in your home. Maybe you use these spaces. Maybe this is where you come to learn something or to have a seminar or to do a request for proposals. These are spaces of value. Some city halls take advantage of their outdoor spaces. The view, if you can find it through the windows on the 4th floor of City Hall, is unbelievable. It's unmatched in the valley, and you see all of the city of Glendale from this very complex. But you have to open it up a little bit so you can see. And some of these outdoor spaces can be not just for City Hall staff and their wellness and their mental well-being, but it can also be for the citizens and visitors of Glendale. Just an idea. And the concept my colleague Karine brought up recently of the City Halls being a city hall is taken very seriously in some of these buildings. Might this be something of value, this sense of entry, this sense of spaciousness, this usefulness that can happen in this existing building as we begin to renovate and look at ways to make it work better for you?
Grand piano in there. I love that.
Did you see that? There's a grand piano at Seattle City Hall in the corner. Okay, so do you visit City Hall? This one's easy, yes or no? Some people don't even know where City Hall is. Oh my goodness. Wow. How about a show of hands, since not everybody needs to be on their phone? Who visits City Hall? A lot of you. That's great. We'll let this go a couple seconds. All right, so why do you come to City Hall? Do you come to City Hall to have a cup of coffee with a friend, or play the piano, or have a community gathering, to pay your utility bill? These are important functions, obviously. Now, while you're loading up your answers, I will say that we have had a chance to talk to staff for the City of Glendale. And of all the cities that we've worked with, the staff here is very dedicated and passionate. And we were surprised by how many people said that their favorite thing about working for the City of Glendale is working for the City of Glendale. They said that the spaces that they're working in are not their favorite, especially the HR ladies in the sub-basement. It's not a space that is commensurate with the services they're providing, but they are connected to one another, and they love working here. Some have moved to other cities and come back because they like serving Glendale. But we would like to see them maybe get out of the basement and have a better office so that you can come visit them in that better office. Okay, next one. So, customer experience. Those of you that do come here, what would you improve relative to the user experience at City Hall? What kinds of things do you think are important when you come here? Some people pay in kiosks. Some people want to connect right away with city folks. More welcoming. Less dated. Better lighting, the entry. Has anybody had trouble finding the front door when they first came here? I've heard that a little bit too. These are pretty basic things, but we think prioritizing as a community is useful. More natural light, brighter. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Oh, coffee bar, that's something. Okay, of the services that don't exist here, and we could be creative, what new services, based on some of the inspiration that I told you, might make sense? If you don't think that City Hall needs new services, that's okay. It's okay. Views to nature, the library at City Hall. Make it not look like the DES. How many of you think the appearance, the design of this space, and I'm talking about the building, not the park right now, is important? How many of you think the appearance is important? How many of you think the appearance is not important? It's not about design, it's about service and just getting the work done. Okay. I appreciate those answers too, because we are here to make sure that there's a practical reason or there's a practical element to what we're doing. Space, library, performing, blend with history. We did hear someone say exhibit space, which I thought was interesting. The city has some really lovely pieces of art in the basement again. Be nice if they were out of the basement so you could see them at the library. I don't know who's in that camp. Views to nature, computers, exterior appearance is the most important thing. Did the person who said that, do you want to speak to that? Exterior appearance? Yes. Do you want the microphone?
Yeah, most of us do not come to City Hall to pay our bills, do not build additions to our homes. So for us, we come to Murphy Park, we drive by, we see a big, boxy building. We want to see something beautiful that matches our beautiful park and our beautiful artistic events that take place here every month of the year.
Thank you. Can you tell me what your name is? Carlos Vargas? Diane, nice to meet you. Okay. The person who said public space at multiple levels. Anybody want to speak to that? Or who said a bar? Oh, awesome. I'm gonna riff on that for a second because there's a message in there, and I have learned about the raucous history of Glendale citizens. When you say a bar,
A coffee bar.
a coffee bar.
Some people take me wrong.
But I think, are we to understand a place to come together, potentially to break bread, to toast, whether you toast with tea or tequila or whatever, a place. Do you think that's an appropriate use for a civic space? Okay, so maybe when you're looking at the beautiful park, yes. Yeah. Okay. So it's really a balance. Maybe it is activities within City Hall that make you then, in a good way, want to go to the bar. So just kind of this connectivity, not in a bad way. Although some days like that are unavoidable. Okay, let's go to the next one. What kinds of activities, so this is the key word here is community, might the community use in the City Hall? And this might be a repeat, I'm sorry if it is, but what we're thinking about here is something that involves kind of groups rather than individuals.
Can you clarify, is this just the building versus?
Yes, this is just the building. There's a park section coming up. Yeah. Okay. Anybody want to speak out about library? That keeps coming up in City Hall. Space, celebration, downtown meetings. All right. Let's move while people are typing. Adi? Oh, yes. No.
Belmonte Library is really a very historic building and has its own little history in this city. And I personally think it needs to be expanded itself rather than for people to talk about moving it. Because I think moving it would mean downsizing it, for one thing. And I think it needs it.
Okay. So, Eva, can you share your last name with me? Davu. So Ms. Davu was expressing the fact that Velma Teague Library is a resource, a cherished historic space, and that if anything, that building, in her view, wouldn't be moved, but potentially expanded upon because it's a critical service for the city of Glendale. Okay? Yes. Okay, another one. Yeah. Yes. Yes, what's your question?
Well, what I want to know is,
Yes.
with this new design,
Uh-huh.
how will you overcome light?
Okay.
You start at 43rd Avenue, go past the ice store called the Peak Factory.
Yes. Yes.
Keep going west, and you pass little stands for lunch and this and that. Nothing wrong with it, but, and then you pass the City Hall, and you get past 59th Avenue, and you got littered lots and strip malls that are food.
Yes. So you're
How will this development?
that is a really good question. I think these are the kinds of things that are larger issues, and you start with one piece at a time, and you try to tackle that and see if that moves forward and moves the needle to other pieces. But I think the spirit of this gentleman's question is, can this project have the power to impact the greater city for better or for good? And that gets into what makes cities thrive and what makes cities, tackle blight and some of the things that are challenged with the city. Can this project alone do that? I don't think that that's an answer that we all as architects have, but we always are hopeful that when you invest and when you work hard and you bring people together to do something that's meaningful, that other things follow. And there's data to support that, and there's examples of other cities that have been able to do that as well. Shall we go to the next slide? Okay, so the outdoor civic spaces. I think it's well received that the importance and the idea of the Velma Teague Library as something that is quite meaningful and that is a part of this complex and should be seen as such. Is that correct? Yeah, hands. We might as well do that. Awesome. Okay, thank you. All right. So civic spaces have their own inspiration. I'm going to turn to Allison to share what we're seeing in civic spaces around the country.
All right. Thank you. All right, so I just was going to run through a couple successful public spaces that are parks and civic centers throughout the United States, and just tell you a little bit about what makes them successful. So we believe that great civic parks are open and welcoming. This is Boston Public Garden, and what I understand, Diane used to walk through here to work to the city way back in the day. But this park, it's interesting. It's not for recreation. It is really to enjoy. It has like this kind of really sense of pride, a pride of place. It's quite formal, actually. And then people kind of decompress as they walk to the city and back. So great civic centers can also be like a town square. And what I love about this one in Hillsburg, California, it's in the center of the city. It's got a gazebo as a focal point. I love how open the gazebo is. You have open sight lines. It feels safe and accessible. Also, you might notice there's all sorts of benches for people to sit on, and it feels very comfortable and shady and green. And then civic parks can also be outdoor venue places that help form or are indicative of the culture of a place and the local identity. And so this is Civic Space Park. It's really a lovely, open, flexible park in downtown Phoenix. It's a very urban environment, yet the people, you can see how many people are there with their family or just groups of friends, just being comfortable on the lawn and enjoying a beautiful Arizona evening. Civic centers can also be very formal, and in this civic center in Minneapolis, you can just see that at sometimes this is full of people with programmed activities, and then sometimes it's just very serene and kind of gives City Hall like it sets up, it's very, gives it a little breathing room and feels very civic. So this is the plaza at Mesa City Center. This is a project I worked on with Holly Street Studios. And this is Mesa's version of their outdoor living room. And there is a seasonal ice rink for November and December, a water feature, good shade, just a very comfortable lawn. So it's all about just creating comfort and mitigating climate and giving a place for people to gather. This is right outside their City Hall. And then civic centers, like this is Seattle City Hall. You saw some of the inside. That was the one with the grand piano. So outside the civic center, there's park, and then there is a very flexible kind of pedestrian area, and they support markets and festivals here and bring people to downtown. And this is actually the same exact space, but in this one they're using it for more active events where people can play and enjoy the space. So it's very flexible.
I like how people are watching people play.
Yes. Okay, and then sometimes this one in New Orleans, it's just, it can be very community focused. This is an open space for bands and concerts that can accommodate a lot of people, but also during the day-to-day, there's places to picnic. It feels green and shady and comfortable, so parks can do all sorts of things. They can also have kind of a hometown feel and give a sense of its community. And we look forward to hearing more about what makes Glendale special and how Murphy Park, what is the culture and identity of that, and what traditions come from that. And then lastly, I think that great civic parks are safe and accessible, and they belong to everyone. And they also provide opportunities to kind of come together that create opportunities for people to share experiences when they're from different backgrounds, ages, abilities, and income levels. So those are just some images to maybe inspire you.
Thanks, Allison. So what I want to be clear about is we're not recommending these things. We're sharing them so that we can then entice dialogue about your space. We're not starting with a clean slate. Murphy Park exists and has these traditions which are respected, and we're going to work within and make that thrive. I will say, relative to the library, that the contract and the way this project is put together, if you look at the earlier slides, the library is not in play in this project. We're improving, we're reinvesting in the green space of Murphy Park to make it more accessible, more comfortable, provide more infrastructure. We're connecting that park a little bit better to the City Hall. City Council chamber, the inside where we're sitting, is not in play. It's just making sure that the exterior of this building is conversant and looks nice and is combined with whatever we're going to do to renovate City Hall. And the plaza that connects these two, making sure that it's accessible, that it's safe, that it's visible. These are the ingredients that exist in the contract now, and we're obliged to stay within that. You can look at the public record to see how that's written up, to understand what it is that we're given responsibility for. And then, of course, like the blight in other parts of the city, we're not given responsibility for. But one thing that design does is that it makes people be proud and connected to their community, and hopefully, and we've seen this time and time again, send energy out, a shock wave, that this is a place that's moving into the next 40 years, that's exciting and thoughtful, and a place where people want to live and, more importantly, take care of. So I want to share that sentiment as we go through these images to say that they're not recommendations, they're inspiration, as stated. Okay, so as that came through, what is it that makes civic spaces different? It's business versus leisure, inviting to gather people together, community, small spaces. They have history but are modern. The post office image that I shared on one of our earlier projects, there was a lot of effort made to take care of this historic building and make sure we tell the story. But had we not had permission to kind of open it up, nobody could use it. So the idea is to preserve history, but to bring it into the fold. So to save what's meaningful and what's workable and what's practical, and also open it up and make sure that the systems are working and that it's useful moving forward. Dignity, services, smaller spaces. We've seen in some of these civic spaces little pocket parks within the park, or little pocket zones of activity within. Public restrooms. Gateway. Refresh. Tell me a little bit about history with civic space. Why should civic space have history? Anybody want to tackle that one? No. Okay.
Well, since we are 100 years old or something like
130.
that's what matters, you know,
Yes.
we're over that age.
We're old.
That's what matters.
That history matters.
Respect to the past. They're
Yeah.
surprised how old kids are that old.
They're like 5.
You know.
No, just kidding. I work there. Yeah, they're toddlers. Why is history important? I agree, but you know, in your own words, I think Glendale, when you look at the history here, it's varied. There are people who settled in Glendale that were very pious and religious and wanted a certain kind of community. And there were business people. Murphy came from New York. He was somebody who saw opportunity here. He, you know, grabbed hold of people and he provided water to this community, and then gave this park to the community as well. Those stories are why you exist. And so we're always looking for ways to incorporate them. Anything else on the slide? Yes.
You asked why history is important.
Yes.
And I think it gives a sense of stability
Stability.
in the community. If you know where you've come from and you feel a sense of place and history, then there's that stability as opposed to transiency.
Did everyone hear that? When you come from a place, there's a sense of stability as opposed to transiency. It's kind of legacy. It's kind of this feeling of being grounded.
And when new people come, they want to be a part of something that's been here a while. And they want to become part of that, as opposed to just passing through.
To become part of the story that was here, the energy, the folklore. New people appreciate the past as well. Can you share with me your name?
Nelda Kroll.
Nelda Prohl, thank you very much. Thank you. So it has been said by tourism experts that most people, or many people, like to visit the places where people who are living enjoy. In other words, the regular places, the downtown places, not the Disneyland places, although Disneyland has its place. But the idea of tourists or visitors or new residents or businesses coming to a place where the fabric exists, where people know each other, is sometimes more enticing than what might be ordinarily thought of as tourism. Do you find that that's the case when people come to downtown Glendale, that there's an appreciation for these spaces? Okay, next slide. Do you visit, now we're on to the park. Do you visit Murphy Park and the E. Lowell Rogers Amphitheater? Do you visit the park? Do you visit the amphitheater? Who saw CCR the other week? They were really good. Okay. No, not safe. Yes. Drug use, less so. Okay, the next one is related. Attend almost all night events. When there are events, do you like this sort of now this effort to put more events in the park, in the amphitheater? There's a lot of yeses. Good. What are some of the favorite events you can just share with me?
Glendale Glitters.
Glendale Glitters, so beautiful. So how often, again, do you just come for the library or do you come for the park? All right, you can keep answering that. We'll go to the next one. What's your favorite thing about Murphy Park? The park itself. Is there something there that you're like, this is nice, this makes me proud? I know there's a lot of stuff that needs fixing, but we want to make sure we keep the stuff that doesn't need fixing. Yes? It's landlocked? Oh, it's a landmark. Yes. Yes. The trees, Glendale Glitters, iconic. The library, hometown. Surrounded by local businesses. Fabric, we call that urban fabric, all that. Gas lights, trees. I know that there are monuments and there are things throughout the park that tell stories as well. If there's one in particular, let us know. The German restaurant, on my way here this afternoon, I saw someone taking a picture of House Murphy as if it were like a monument. They were clearly sending that to someplace else, saying, too bad you're not here. They're friends. In Germany, maybe? I don't know. Okay, let's do the next one. If we were going to add something to Murphy Park, it could be simple. What would you add? Bathrooms. More murals, art. Restrooms. If you want to say less of, you can say less blank. There's actually quite a lot of paving in Murphy Park already. I know there was talk about adding paving, which was not on the table. It's another thing. But there is quite a lot that maybe we could take away and still make it accessible. A bar. Are you saying the bar one again? Oh, that's right, that's right. Mr. Murphy. Yeah. That's right. Did he have a German accent? Okay. All right, next one. What should the civic campus in Glendale symbolize? What are you trying to say? And we showed you examples. We talked about town square, civic green, big open space, small space. What should it mean when people come by here and they see your city hall? What should it feel like? Say that again? Culturally inclusive. What do you think visitors see when they come by? Homeless. Poor landscaping. Something to be maintained. Tired.
I think most of the people that go by or come to downtown Glendale who aren't that live in Glendale only come for the festivals. So for me, I've lived here all my life, so for me, I would imagine that they would just drive by and see an empty space. Festival's not going on. Attraction.
So Murphy Park, in that case, is a lack of festival. A lack of activity, participation.
Yes.
It goes to Westgate now. So is there something in your words that is here that is not in Westgate and could never be in Westgate because it's new? Identity. Landscaping. The city needs to promote downtown more. More events for families, not just nighttime.
It's a real downtown. It's a real center. You go out to the old city that's created by putting big buildings around it, and we have a center in pretend. This is real. This is 100 years real. It took 100 years to create what we have. You can build brand new, legal gold. This is real.
Wow. I call that a just add water project, where you're just like, yesterday was a desert, now it's fill in the blank. So it's real, it's authentic, it's been here.
The city's spending a lot of money to create what we have.
Yes.
Throughout the valley, not only throughout the country, throughout the valley, cities are spending a lot of money.
Cities are spending a lot of money. There has been a resurgence in coming back to downtown. And young people would rather a small footprint and maybe even no car so that they could be part of their communities. I think we all missed each other when we were home, stuck in our houses, and that's a point of view. But there is something that's happening where people are appreciating kind of being a little bit closer, being a little bit maybe messier, not knowing exactly who's around the corner in a good way.
Well, there's what you have in the room here today, just in this little corner. You asked about what we have that no one else has. You have Lulu, who's at Bitsy Mama's, that's been there 50 years. You have Bears and More, that's been here 30 years. You have Puppets Ice Cream, that's been here 17 years. You have the Spicery Tea Room, that's been here 30 years. All these things make up hundreds of years of small business, local focus, be the answers to your questions, and they're going to be the ones that help build this place.
That is beautiful. I hope people heard that. There's no way I can repeat that, but it really speaks to the idea that cities thrive and remain thriving because of the people that invest and participate in them and work together and bring something to the table to enrich the lives of one another. So business owners who have been here forever. I feel like when I hear your laundry list of people, it's like celebrities are in the room because we drive all the way from downtown Phoenix to come and enjoy this, and we have for many years. And I think many people do, and they almost are kind of famous in nature. But what makes cities stick? Well, I was speaking with somebody about that earlier today, and it sounds like you're saying authenticity and people and the traditions that they bring. Thank you. Okay, shall we do the next one? So, downtowns. I'm going to go through this one really fast because it looks like you stole our thunder because we've been talking about what makes downtown work, and I think we're finding the same thing elsewhere, which makes sense. So this is Boston City Hall. If anybody's familiar with this, it's a famous building in the heart of Boston. Terrible, terrible outdoor atmosphere, and they're realizing that what happens at City Hall needs to spread out and connect with the rest of the city. So some other examples, Pearl Street in Boulder, where there's pedestrian access, where there's value and safety for people that are walking, a little bit of nature, art, and the retail all together. Storefronts and shade, how can we make sure that your storefronts look out onto a park that provides shade and makes it connected? And not very far from here, the idea of mixed use, different kinds of businesses, not just restaurants and bars. I think we see that sometimes. But commerce and residence and recreation. This is the Japanese Friendship Garden next to Hans Park in Phoenix. When I saw this, I'm like, where is this? And I was startled. Wait, it's in Phoenix. And I probably live within that. You and I probably live within that zone right there. But this is possible, and I think folks moving into the city are agreeing with that sentiment. So the key inspiration here is your downtown. And these are the things that we're finding. That it always was a vibrant downtown with mixed use, with small scale spaces, small scale businesses, but big-hearted kind of gatherings and community. And also there's little pockets like alleys here that are working very well, places to eat, places to meet, places to connect. These small moves go a long way. And of course, Glendale Glitters and other events that bring people together from all over the valley and maybe even beyond. And we're inspired by the crowds that come out to listen to music. There's some things that we need to fix there, but it was a really good time. And you don't see that in many other cities anywhere, even the brand shiny new ones. So as we wrap this up, I want to say thank you for listening, for your comments. I know we're not rolling out a scheme or a design, but that's not the process that we follow. We want to take some of these thoughts and thoughts that are going to come to us hopefully after tonight and incorporate them. We have to work within our resources, but I think that these are really valuable and that we're going to use them and come back hopefully with a response to some of the ideas that you've shared today. So we did cover this, so I want to skip what makes downtown. Well, no, let's go ahead and say that the gentleman who talked about reality, can you share your name with me? Bud Zomak and Lorraine Zomak. Nice to meet you. Some of the things that you said, maybe we put on this slide. History and amphitheater. We did cover it, but if you don't mind writing it down so we can capture it, that would be great. Yes.
What really makes Glendale unique, especially downtown, is the June of this year. Downtown Glendale hosted its very first community-invited field team event.
Juneteenth in downtown Glendale this June 2022. Unique. Special celebrations, marking moments in history. If somebody from our staff, Sergio, you got it. Let's put that on there. That says something. Yes. What we need to hear and what we'll be working on is the nitty-gritty of, okay, you have these celebrations, you have Juneteenth in Murphy Park. What can help make that happen even better when you do it next year? And so these are the things that we'll be concerned with, including power and lighting and sound systems and things like that. This is the stuff that's also quite valuable to the work that we do. Intimate relationship to businesses. Okay. I'm glad we didn't skip this one.
I think it's the affiliation. It used to be known for being an antique spot
Yes, it used to be known for antiques.
all around the world.
All around the world, yes. So now you're diversifying, maybe. Yeah. Unique architecture, indeed. Okay, should we do the next one? So what design elements are missing? And this could be nitty-gritty too. Benches, trees, centerpiece, like a gateway, maybe? Also. So in like public art?
You see that clock that's
The Murphy Park clock?
amplified.
An amplified version. That makes me think of the bean in Millennium Park in Chicago. It's really just this big hunk of metal, but we all want to go and touch it. It's really beautiful. But something iconic, something like a centerpiece, yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to share that one out loud? Yes.
Keeping the architectural the same. There's too many buildings that go modern and historic, and we need to keep it all.
Yeah, keeping the architecture consistent and keeping it the same. That gets into kind of mandating design, which is a challenge. Just like telling people how to dress is also a challenge. I think, but there are zoning kind of guidelines to make sure that the buildings are conversant. But this idea of kind of cohesion, I think, might be what you're leading to as well. Yeah. Restrooms. Important. That then ties, that goes away from architecture and design into operations, and that's important for the city to consider. Thank you. Okay. So, picture this. It's 2025. Hopefully we're standing here at a local bar, not in City Hall, apparently, but somewhere where we once were in City Hall. And we're looking at what we together with community and design team have accomplished and the city leadership. What do you imagine? Like, call your cousin from, Costa Rica and say, you got to come visit my neighborhood. It's really cool. And on that note, that does happen. It seems like a long way away. But this Saturday, the building I shared with you in downtown Mesa is opening, and everybody's invited. And when we started that project in 2018, I thought 2022 was a long way away. But it happened. Tell me what you see. Joy and beauty. Fresh new look. Glendale glitters. It's here and strong. With less extension cords, maybe. People from all over the valley flocking to downtown Glendale, Old Town Glendale, well-lit and safe places. Lots of happy shoppers diners and entertainment. More music, more young people. Anywhere. Renovation. Destination. You know, this gets recorded, so I guess it's kind of our report card. I want someone to open up a paper store.
Sorry they had to go out of business.
I know.
Reopened in another area.
Oh. 2025, it'll be here. Public art campus, restrooms, year-round events, world-known festivals. All right, let's see if we can get that going. So thank you for sharing these ideas and your imagination, and I look forward to creating this together. I appreciate your time and your input, and I want to make sure that this process was useful to you. I think sometimes when architects are standing up, people are ready to see plans revealed. That will come, but we believe that the best plans that we can reveal are ones that you help us formulate. If you have questions or comments or information you'd like to share with this team and the City of Glendale staff, you can do that using the email that we'll post in a minute. But I just want to make sure that this is helpful, and I want to know from you if we missed anything tonight. Let us know. There's also a poll question on there as well. But again, we're really excited to be here, and we're glad to hear your input. So thank you, and stick around if you want to talk to one of us. That's it.